Welcome to another episode of Insightful Conversations, where we explore real stories of agriculture, food security, and development from around the world. I am Mushtaq Memon, Professor Emeritus at Washington State University and Vice President for Livestock at We Empower. Today, I'm honored to be joined by my colleague, Noubia Gribi-Hussain, an agriculture economist with more than 30 years of experience in over 25 countries, managing large international development projects with a focus on women, youth, and community resilience, and founder and CEO of We Empower. Welcome, Noubia.
Thank you, Mushtaq. Thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to be in conversation with you.
Noubia, in your career, you have seen agriculture face shocks of every kind: climate change, market disruptions, even conflict. But perhaps one of the biggest global shocks in recent history was the COVID-19 pandemic. How did it affect your work with farmers and communities?
Well, you're absolutely right, Mushtaq. COVID-19 pandemic disrupted nearly every aspect of agricultural life. Overnight, physical trainings were canceled, extension visits were suspended, and the traditional ways of sharing knowledge suddenly stopped. But I always believe that every crisis hides an opportunity. For me, the pandemic was a chance to innovate. That's when I proposed shifting to an online learning system using digital platforms to continue transferring knowledge to farmers and community members.
That's fascinating. But let's be honest. Many people assume rural farmers are not ready for digital solutions. How did you manage that?
It was not easy. Let me explain. So when the pandemic hit, it disrupted, as I said, nearly every aspect of agriculture. And all the extension visits were put on hold, and the knowledge suddenly became impossible. So, as I said earlier, I always thought and believe that every challenge carries with it an opportunity to innovate. That was the challenge, actually, but also an opportunity. I always believed in that. So we didn't just impose a system. We started from the ground up. We first assessed participants' needs in basically talking to people, making phone calls, and sending surveys. And the message was clear. People wanted to learn about home gardening. Why? Because with shops closed or restricted, families were worried about food security. They wanted to grow basic essential foods on their balconies, rooftops, and in small rural plots. So, with my team, we developed tailored training materials to meet this demand. The first session, I have to say, was cautious. Attendance was low, the format was unfamiliar, and many still preferred face to face interactions. So did we. I always like to do training face to face and to be present in the field. But we stayed consistent. We continued discussing and talking to the audience because we could see the potential. Over time, things changed. People get really used to working online. Each session became more interactive and more demand driven, with topics evolving based on what the community asked for. So that relationship basically brought a lot of confidence on people in the kind of training that we're doing online.
And what kind of participants did you see coming in? Was it the same farmers you had been working with before?
Let me tell you this. That's the beauty of it. The audience actually expanded, and we were very surprised. We started seeing more youth, students from universities, and most importantly, women who couldn't leave their homes in the past, or jobs to attend in-person training, so they were able to come online. They become fully engaged. For me, that was the heart of the mission, opening inclusive spaces for youth and women in agriculture.
That must have been transformative. And I imagine this also changed how institutions responded.
Indeed, ministries, universities, cooperatives, even municipalities began joining. In some rural areas, municipalities would gather farmers in one space, project the training on a big screen, and turn on our online session into a community learning event. Farmers proudly shared photos of their new gardens and produce. It was no longer just a training, quote unquote. It became a movement of knowledge, exchange, resilience, and corporate collective progress. Sorry.
I really like that image. Villages turning virtual training into local community events. It's very powerful. What, in your view, is the biggest lesson you took from this experience?
Well, the biggest lesson, Mushtaq, is that innovation isn't only about technology. It's about adaptability and listening. By meeting people where they are, understanding their needs, and staying consistent, we can turn barriers into bridges. What began as a quick response to a crisis ended up becoming a more inclusive, accessible, and participatory model of agricultural training. And it's something we continue to build on today.
That's a remarkable story, Nubia. And I think it carries a bigger lesson for policymakers and development practitioners everywhere. The pandemic forced us to rethink how we deliver knowledge and support communities. Your example shows that if we invest in digital inclusion, if we make a space for women and youth, and if we adapt systems to local realities, then we can create training models that are more resilient than ever before.
Agree with you, Mushtaq. This isn't just about surviving a crisis, it's about shaping the future of agricultural extension, food security, and rural development. And that's the kind of forward looking thinking we need for the next generation of policy and practice. So, thank you, Mushtaq, for having me. I couldn't agree more. Reality that we create training models that are more resilient than ever before. For me, this experience was a reminder that real change comes when we trust communities, listen to their needs, and give them the tools to lead their own development.
To our listeners, thank you for joining us today on Insightful Conversations. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and remember, innovation begins with listening.